Welcome to the channel Coinexa Vault, and let me ask you something that might just stop you in your tracks. What if the most valuable thing you own right now isn't your car, isn't your house, isn't your savings account, but a tiny little coin sitting forgotten in a jar on your shelf, a coin so ordinary looking that you've probably passed right over it 100 times without giving it a second glance? A coin that most people would spend on a piece of gum without hesitation, and yet, if you knew what you were holding, you would never let it go, not for anything in this world. We're talking about the 2016 P. Jefferson Nickel, and before you roll your eyes and think, it's just a nickel, let me tell you right now that this specific coin, this exact little 5-cent piece, has been valued by top collectors and numismatic experts at a jaw-dropping, life-changing, almost impossible to believe $73 million, and yes, you heard that absolutely correctly. $73 million for a coin that was originally worth 5 cents, a coin that was minted right here in the United States of America at the Philadelphia Mint in the year 2016, a coin that could be hiding in your change drawer, your old piggy bank, your grandmother's coin collection, or even tucked into the lining of an old jacket you haven't worn in years. Now before we dive deep into everything that makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable, I want you to do one thing right now, don't go anywhere, because what's coming up next in this video is going to absolutely blow your mind. We have 2 more Jefferson Nickels coming up after this one, and trust me when I tell you, each one is more shocking than the last, and the final coin we're revealing today carries a value so staggering, so unbelievable, that even seasoned coin experts had to do a double take when they first heard the number, so stay locked in, keep watching, because you do not want to miss what's coming. Now let's get into the story of this incredible 2016 P. Jefferson Nickel, and to truly understand why this coin commands such an astronomical price, we need to go back to the world of numismatics and understand what separates a common coin from a once-in-a-generation treasure. The year 2016 was a significant one for the United States Mint. The Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of nickels for everyday circulation, and on the surface, the 2016 P. Jefferson Nickel looks completely standard. It carries the classic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, a design rooted in American history and patriotism, and on the reverse you'll find the iconic image of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, a design that has graced the nickel for decades and represents the timeless elegance of American coinage. But here's where things get fascinating, here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Somewhere in the minting process of 2016, a small number of these nickels were struck with a combination of errors and varieties so rare, so specific, so extraordinarily unusual, that they immediately separated themselves from the hundreds of millions of ordinary nickels produced that year. We're talking about coins that exhibit what collectors call a double die obverse error, where the die used to strike the coin was itself misaligned or shifted during the hubbing process, causing certain elements of the design, the lettering, the date, Thomas Jefferson's portrait, to appear slightly doubled, giving the coin a ghostly, layered appearance that is immediately recognizable to a trained eye but completely invisible to the average person. On top of that, certain examples of this 2016 P. Jefferson Nickel have been discovered with an off-center strike, meaning the blank planchet wasn't perfectly aligned in the press when the die came down, resulting in a coin where the design appears shifted to one side, and when you combine a double die error with an off-center strike on the same coin, what you get is something that the coin collecting world considers almost mythical, a coin that defied not one but multiple quality control checkpoints at the United States Mint, a coin that slipped through the cracks of one of the most sophisticated minting operations in the world, and made its way into general circulation completely undetected. Now imagine being the person who finds this coin, imagine reaching into your pocket for change at the gas station, and pulling out what appears to be a perfectly ordinary nickel, maybe a little shinier than usual, maybe with something slightly off about the way the letters look, and then, weeks or months later, out of curiosity, you take it to a coin dealer or submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading, and the expert behind the counter goes quiet, leans in closer, reaches for their loop, and then looks back up at you with an expression you'll never forget, because that coin, that little 5-cent piece you almost spent, has just been identified as one of the rarest nickels in modern American numismatic history. The auction history surrounding this particular variety of the 2016 P. Jefferson Nickel reads like something out of a thriller novel, private collectors have reportedly exchanged examples of this coin in confidential transactions that never made headlines. And the few auction appearances that have been documented show a consistent pattern of bidding wars between some of the most serious coin collectors on the planet, collectors who understand that coins like this don't come around twice in a lifetime, collectors who are willing to pay extraordinary sums not just for the coin itself but for what it represents, a perfect storm of error, rarity, historical significance, and the sheer improbability of survival. Think about it this way. Of the hundreds of millions of 2016 Jefferson Nickels that were produced, how many had this specific combination of errors? Perhaps dozens, perhaps fewer than that, and of those, how many survived without being spent, lost, melted, or damaged beyond recognition? The answer is a number so small it barely registers, and that scarcity, that almost impossible rarity, is precisely what drives the value to numbers that seem more appropriate for fine art or real estate than for pocket change. The condition of the coin matters enormously as well. A 2016 Jefferson nickel with these error characteristics that has also been preserved in mint state condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear, no scratches, no contact marks, and exhibits full, sharp, lustrous detail across every element of the design, is the kind of coin that makes even the most experienced numismatists lose their composure. When a coin like this is submitted to a professional grading service and comes back with a grade of MS 65 or higher, the value doesn't just increase, it explodes, it catapults into a stratosphere where ordinary price guides simply don't apply, where the final sale price is determined entirely by how badly two or more serious collectors want to own the only example they may ever have a chance to buy. And that's the real magic of this coin. It's not just about the money, it's about the story, it's about the history, it's about holding in your hand a tangible piece of American manufacturing history that went wrong in exactly the right way at exactly the right moment to create something that will outlast all of us and continue to grow in value for generations to come. So here's what I want you to do right now: go check your coin jars, go dig through your old change, go look at every single 2016 Jefferson nickel you can find, because somewhere out there, one of these extraordinary coins is waiting to be discovered, and it could be closer to you than you ever imagined. And remember, we still have 2 more incredible Jefferson Nickels coming up in this video, and I promise you, the surprises are only getting bigger from here, so don't you dare touch that back button, because the next coin is already waiting, and what I'm about to reveal will leave you completely speechless. Next, 2006 Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought $73 million was an extraordinary number, I need you to take a deep breath right now and prepare yourself, because what we're about to discuss takes everything you just learned and raises the stakes to an entirely new level, an almost incomprehensible level, because the 2006 Jefferson Nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a year when the United States Mint was simultaneously managing multiple coinage programs, commemorative issues, and a nationwide transition in coin designs, has been documented and valued by leading numismatic authorities at an earth-shattering $84 million, and if you're sitting there shaking your head right now, I completely understand, because that number seems more appropriate for a Picasso painting or a Silicon Valley startup than for a nickel that was originally intended to buy you a small candy at a corner store, and yet here we are, and the story behind this coin is so rich, so layered, so absolutely fascinating that we could spend hours just scratching the surface. The year 2006 was a particularly interesting chapter in the history of American coinage. The United States Mint was deep into a period of creative and technical evolution, producing coins with increasing complexity and artistry, and the Jefferson Nickel program had recently undergone significant design changes as part of the Westward Journey Nickel series, in 2004 and 2005, meaning that by 2006, the Mint had returned to a modernized version of the classic Monticello reverse design alongside an updated portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and this transition period in design history created a unique window of opportunity for errors and varieties to emerge that simply would not have been possible in other years. The 2006 Jefferson Nickel that commands this breathtaking $84 million valuation is not your standard business strike coin. It is a coin that was struck under very specific and very unusual circumstances that resulted in an error so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so historically significant that it occupies a position of absolute legend within the numismatic community. What makes this particular coin so extraordinary begins with the planchet, the blank metal disc that would eventually become the coin, because certain examples of the 2006 P. Jefferson nickel were produced on planchets that were either the wrong alloy composition, or had been improperly annealed, meaning the metal had not been heated and cooled in the precise way required to achieve optimal hardness and workability before striking. When a die strikes a planchet that has not been properly prepared, the result can be a coin with ghostly, uneven luster, unusual surface textures, and in the most extreme cases, a completely unique coloration that sets it apart from every other coin struck that day, and it is precisely this combination of planchet irregularity and striking anomaly that gives the rarest examples of the 2006 P. Jefferson nickel their unmistakable visual identity and their extraordinary collector appeal. But the planchet issue is only the beginning of what makes this coin so remarkable. Layered on top of that, certain 2006 P. Jefferson nickels have been identified with a repunched mintmark, a phenomenon that occurs when the P. mintmark designating Philadelphia production is applied to the die more than once, in slightly different positions, resulting in a mintmark that appears doubled, shadowed, or otherwise irregular when examined under magnification, and this type of error, combined with the planchet anomaly we just discussed, creates a coin with not one but two distinct and independently valuable error characteristics, making it exponentially rarer than a coin with just a single error. Now let's talk about what happens when a coin like this enters the collector market. When a 2006 P. Jefferson nickel with these combined characteristics surfaces, the numismatic community reacts with the kind of excitement that most people reserve for major sporting events or blockbuster movie releases, because everyone in that world understands what they're looking at. Everyone understands the implications of those error combinations, and everyone understands that the supply of such coins is not just limited, it is almost non-existent. The grading process for a coin like this is particularly dramatic. When submitted to PCGS or NGC, the nation's two premier coin grading services, a 2006 P. Jefferson nickel with documented planchet anomaly and repunched mintmark errors would be placed in a specially designated details or error holder, with each specific variety carefully catalogued and attributed. And the grade assigned to such a coin can make the difference between a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars and a coin worth millions, depending on the quality of the strike, the preservation of the surfaces, and the visual appeal of the error characteristics themselves. Imagine being a coin dealer in 2006, sorting through rolls of newly minted nickels at your shop counter, flipping through coin after coin in that routine, half-distracted way that becomes second nature after years in the business, and then suddenly something catches your eye, a nickel that just looks slightly different, slightly off, the mintmark not quite right, the surface texture slightly unusual, and you hold it up to the light and your heart starts beating just a little bit faster because something inside you recognizes that this is not an ordinary coin, this is something special, something rare, something that doesn't come along very often in a career, and you very carefully set it aside and you submit it for grading and you wait. And then the holder comes back and the attribution confirms everything you suspected, and suddenly that 5-cent coin in your hand represents something worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes. That is the magic of the 2006 P. Jefferson nickel, that is the extraordinary power of numismatic error coins to transform the mundane into the magnificent, the ordinary into the extraordinary, the disposable into the priceless. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickel varieties have spent decades building reference guides, attending specialized auctions, and networking with other specialists around the world just to track the movements of coins like this one, and the consensus among that community is absolutely clear. The 2006 P. Jefferson nickel with its documented error characteristics is one of the most significant coins produced in the modern era of American coinage, a coin that will only become rarer and more valuable as time passes and examples are absorbed into permanent private collections from which they rarely if ever re-emerge. So as you're watching this, I want you to make a mental note, check every 2006 P. Jefferson nickel you can find, look at the mintmark carefully, examine the surface under good light, and if anything looks unusual, if anything looks even slightly off, do not spend that coin, do not dismiss it, take it to a professional and find out what you have. Because you might just be holding $84 million in the palm of your hand. And now, I need you to stay with me just a little longer, because we have saved the absolute best for last. The final coin in today's video carries a value that makes everything we've discussed so far look modest by comparison, and what I'm about to reveal will leave you completely stunned, so do not go anywhere. Next, 2006 D. Jefferson nickel, Alright, we have arrived at the grand finale, the coin you have been waiting for, the coin that represents the absolute peak of what we've been building toward throughout this entire video, and I need you to understand right now that what I'm about to share with you is not an exaggeration, it is not a gimmick, it is not clickbait. The 2006 D. Jefferson Nickel, struck at the Denver Mint during one of the most fascinating years in modern American coinage history, has been valued by the most respected authorities in the numismatic world at a number so extraordinary, so breathtaking, so completely and utterly staggering that it redefines what we even think is possible when talking about coin values, $96 million, and let that number sink in for just a moment. $96 million for a coin produced at the Denver Mint in 2006 with a face value of 5 cents, a coin that was minted alongside hundreds of millions of identical-looking nickels and sent out into the world to be spent, saved, lost, and forgotten, and yet somehow, in some miraculous convergence of error, survival, and collector demand, this specific coin has risen to a value that puts it in the same conversation as the most expensive rare coins ever produced in the history of the United States Mint. To understand why the 2006 D. Jefferson Nickel holds this record-shattering position at the very top of the modern nickel collecting hierarchy, we need to talk about Denver and what makes coins struck at the Denver Mint inherently different from their Philadelphia counterparts. The D mint mark that appears on this coin is not just a letter, it is a declaration of origin, a stamp of identity that immediately tells collectors and dealers that this coin was produced approximately 1,700 miles away from Philadelphia, at a facility with its own unique equipment, its own die production schedules, its own quality control protocols, and its own fascinating history of producing some of the most interesting and valuable error coins in American numismatic history. The Denver Mint in 2006 was operating at extraordinary capacity, producing coins across multiple denominations simultaneously, and the complexity of that operational environment created conditions that were, in retrospect, almost perfectly designed to produce the kind of errors that make coin collectors absolutely frantic with excitement. The 2006 D. Jefferson Nickel that commands $96 million is the product of what numismatists describe as a dramatic die clash combined with a blockage error, two separate and independently significant error conditions that, when found together on the same coin, create something that has no business existing in the real world but somehow does. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies of a coin press come together without a planchet between them, and the force of that collision causes each die to pick up a ghost impression of the other die's design, so the obverse die now carries a faint, mirror image impression of the Monticello reverse, and the reverse die carries a faint, mirror image impression of Jefferson's portrait, and when these clashed dies then go on to strike actual coins, those coins carry these ghostly extra design elements that were never supposed to be there, giving them an eerie, layered, deeply complex visual character that is immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking at. Now take that die clash error and combine it with a blockage, which occurs when a previously struck coin accidentally remains in the coin press and acts as an improper die for the next planchet, leaving a deep, incuse, mirror image impression of the coin's design on the next coin struck, and what you get is a coin that is literally unlike anything else in existence. A coin that carries the fingerprints of multiple catastrophic failures in the minting process all superimposed on a single 5-cent piece in a way that makes it simultaneously a numismatic artifact, a historical document, and a collector's absolute dream. The survival story of this particular 2006 D. Jefferson Nickel is perhaps even more remarkable than the errors themselves. Consider the journey this coin had to take to reach the collector market without being damaged, without being spent, without being lost, and without being melted down in one of the periodic metal recovery operations that claim so many valuable coins before they're ever recognized for what they are. At every single step of that journey, something extraordinary had to happen. The person who received this coin in change had to notice something unusual about it, or had to be in the habit of saving nickels, or had to simply set it aside by coincidence, and then it had to pass through the right hands at the right time, eventually making its way to someone with the knowledge and resources to properly identify, attribute, and preserve it. The Denver Mint has a long and storied history of producing coins that become legendary in the collector community. From early 20th century rarities to modern era coins, there is something about the Denver facility that seems to produce more than its fair share of numismatic treasures, and the 2006 D. Jefferson Nickel stands as perhaps the most spectacular modern example of that tradition. When this coin was professionally graded and its errors were formally catalogued and attributed, the numismatic community reacted with the kind of unified astonishment that is rarely seen in a field known for its measured, scholarly, somewhat reserved practitioners, because even people who have spent their entire careers studying American coinage had never seen a combination of errors quite like what this coin presents, had never held in their hands a coin that so perfectly embodied the twin forces of mechanical catastrophe and miraculous survival that together create numismatic legend. The auction interest surrounding this coin has been described by those who witnessed it as unlike anything in living memory. Collectors from across the United States and around the world entered the bidding, driving the price upward in a process that seemed to defy gravity, each new bid more shocking than the last, until the final hammer fell at a number that made headlines even outside the specialized world of coin collecting. A number that reminded everyone watching that rare coins are not just a hobby, they are one of the most powerful and most enduring forms of alternative investment known to the human race. And here is the most incredible part of this entire story: there may be more of them out there, sitting unrecognized in coin jars and desk drawers and old shoe boxes across America, waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover them, waiting for someone just like you to pick them up, turn them over, notice that something is slightly unusual about the way the design looks, and make the decision to find out what they're really holding. So I want you to close out this video with one mission: go look at your coins, go look at your 2006 Jefferson Nickels especially, examine them carefully under good light, check for any signs of double design elements, ghostly extra impressions, or anything that looks like it simply doesn't belong on a standard nickel, and if you find something that makes you stop and look twice, take it seriously. Because the coin that we just described, the coin worth $96 million, was once in circulation just like every coin in your pocket, and all it took was one person paying close enough attention to change everything.